Hello, Durud and Shalom. Hi, everyone. Let me know how my audio is so that we could get started. Also, let me know if you have liked the stream. And if you haven't, why not? Why? I mean, okay, if you haven't liked the stream, then promise me you would like if the show is good. Okay, let me see who's in the chat. Flying Robot Duck, Comrade Shifty, Jewish Samantha, John is here, Nail Bunny is here. Fantastic. Okay, we could just jump right into it. How about that? So Nick Fuentes just recently did an interview, and it's very long. And I was thinking we should do multiple streams just going through this and finishing it. Let's see how much, because I want to respond to his bullshit. I think a lot of people are not taking this seriously enough. And there's not that many good responses to it online, other than calling him a neo-Nazi, which he is, and just saying that he's offensive. I don't see really good takedowns of all the bullshit that he's spreading. So I thought, like, this is my calling. This guy is. We need to stand up to this guy. This guy is part of America's future, and I think it's a good thing if we respond to him and actually show people why he's wrong. What do you think, guys? Is that a good thing to focus on? Because this is a very worrying trend, both on the left and the right. Things are not going in the right direction. This is really bad. It's really bad. So yeah, I think we're doing a good job in defending Western values against her enemies, and this what you're looking at is one of them. So let's just jump into it. Okay.
Today's guest is the most canceled man on earth.
Rock bottom looks like that. Broke, no income, no platform. Probably 80% of my inner circle completely abandoned me.
A Catholic boy from the suburbs of Chicago, he was obsessed with history, politics, and the search for truth.
That is really the anatomy of how somebody is canceled. They'll pay somebody a full-time salary and they start to poke and look for ways that they can hurt you, to persuade you to stop saying the things that you're saying.
But after years of forming his opinions and sharpening his debate skills, he asked one question that changed everything.
Now you're able to talk a little bit more openly about, let's say, black crime. You're able to talk more about illegal immigration. You're able to talk about Indians in a derogatory way. But the one group you're still not allowed to criticize is...
In this episode, we'll hear from the voice that has divided a nation, expose the players trying to keep him silent, and question if he's really the villain they say he is, or the mirror that America doesn't want to face.
Everything that I did was for America. It was for Christianity. It wasn't for hatred of other groups. You know, it's a longing for justice.
Nicholas J. Fuentes. Welcome to the Jack Neal Podcast.
Yeah, great to be with you.
Yeah.
You guys see the production value going into spreading this bullshit in America? This is just the beginning, guys.
It's a pleasure to have you here, man. Guys, we are in an undisclosed warehouse right now. It's a little sketchy in here, but we thought it looked cool. So, Nick, you're banned on most social media platforms. You're on a no-fly list. Your bank accounts are frozen. You're investigated by the FBI, and you even had someone try to come to your house to kill you. What exactly did you say that made you so dangerous?
Well, from the very beginning, the first thing that I said is that...
You can see how the questions are framed in a way that is making him look cool and badass and a rebel. You know, this is the beginning of introducing younger American to this guy that everybody wants to silence. And they're incapable of doing it. This is basically the beginning of turning him from a villain to a hero.
Well, from the very beginning, the first thing that I said is that Israel is not our closest ally with the United States. And what is interesting is that so much has happened since that happened, which was about 8 years ago. And I guess it's important to understand how these things take place, which is that, for example, somebody showed up to my house with a gun trying to kill me because I said that after the election, I said, your body, my choice, which is like a twist on my body, my choice. I got doxxed. But my address had been on the internet because the SPLC posted it. Southern Poverty Law Center. This is one of these liberal outfits. They posted a photo of my house on their website. And this is, by the way, one of the richest nonprofits on the left. They're up there with the ADL. They're very wealthy, very powerful. It's important to understand, they put the address out there and crazy liberals, leftists got that, and they attacked my house because of something I said on Twitter. But it's important to know that I was targeted first by the SPLC, by the ADL. This is why my address is out there. This is why I was branded at one time a white supremacist and a white nationalist. And a lot of people.
Wow, they're actually censoring the white supremacists and white nationalists. Are we not supposed to say these things on YouTube? Because I say, is that why we don't grow as fast?
People don't understand that that is really the anatomy of how somebody is canceled. Is you say something that is against, let's say, the hegemonic left. You say something that is against the most powerful global special interests. And people don't realize it works this way. So, like, for example, you'll say, Israel's not our closest ally. And then a group like the ADL, which is a group, they're called Anti-Defamation League. They're against the defamation of Jewish people. A group like that will
So, guys, I just looked at this. It says there is no credible evidence that SPLC published or leaked private or personal contact information. They included public information that was already publicly available. So I don't know. If he says that, don't trust him just because it says that. But I don't want to get into that. The point is that if he wants to claim that Israel is not America's ally, he needs to actually give reason for that, because everything shows that Israel is one of the greatest America's allies. And just because other people are getting butthurt and wanting to silence you doesn't mean that you're right. You actually have to provide an argument.
Defamation League. They're against the defamation of Jewish people. A group like that will identify you as an enemy of their special interest, which is the Israel lobby. They will pay somebody, not a significant amount of money, but they'll pay somebody a full-time salary to then follow you around, how you make your money, what you do for a living, your family, your employers, employees, friends, associates. And they start to poke and look for ways that they can hurt you, to persuade you to stop saying the things that you're saying. So in my case, from a very early age, I was not really controversial when I got started. I didn't really say anything that was that out there, but I was saying that Israel's not our ally. So they put somebody on me. In this case, it was Jared.
That's bullshit, by the way. Like, many people have been saying Israel is not America's ally, and you don't get somebody put on you just because somebody is calling out your bullshit or maybe disagreeing with you. That doesn't mean they were. It's a full-time job to follow you. And I mean, if somebody responds, this is basically, if you say controversial stuff, people are going to respond. That's just how it works. It doesn't mean that they would have been assigned to you.
Israel's not our ally. So they put somebody on me. In this case, it was Jared Holt at Right Wing Watch. Right Wing Watch is a subsidiary of People for the American Way, which is a Soros-funded nonprofit. So this guy would watch my show every night. He was paid to do this. It's his job. And he was.
Do you have any evidence that he was paid? Like, this was his full-time job? Like, he was paid to follow you and respond to you? Do you have any evidence for that? I mean, if you're working for a content creator company and you are a good person to respond to for content, that doesn't, like, this is not a Jewish fucking conspiracy. This is like, it doesn't even matter. Like, you could be, I mean, if you are speaking against Black people or even freaking Canada or Germany, and you're spewing bullshit, somebody at some point is going to figure out, like, oh, responding to this guy is going to be an interesting thing to do. Like, this guy is spreading bullshit. I should respond. I should make content responding to him. That's how it works. This is why are you making it seem like this is a uniquely Jewish or Israel related thing? If you say bullshit online, at some point, some people whose job is to make content will make content responding to you, or at least research you for potential content.
Paid to look for every time I said anything controversial, anything that sounded controversial, any joke that sounded offensive. And his job was then to clip what sounded bad, post it on Twitter, and say that represented that I'm a white nationalist, I'm an extremist, Christian fanatic. And this has taken place over the course of 10 years. Ever since I was 18 years old, this is what I have been subjected to. And after 10 years, you get a profile as all your worst clips, all the things that could sound bad. All those things have been compiled over your.
I mean, guys, we have been watching him in full context. It doesn't sound bad when you just clip them. It actually sounds worse when you actually listen to the entire context. Like, what are you talking about? They make you sound bad by clipping you and taking you out of context. We have watched you in context. You still sound like a fucking Nazi.
Entire career, and then they make you out to be a fanatic, a nut job, a hateful person. And so that's how I got the reputation as a white nationalist, all of the above. What they then do, of course, is they rile up their base. So the person that showed up at my house was a 23-year-old kid. I don't actually know what his motivation was. The police never told me. I imagine he was maybe feeling bad about the election. He showed up at my house about a month after that. Maybe he was upset about my tweet about abortion or feminism. But he was effectively sicked on me by these types of groups that built up that catalog of horrible things that engage in that reputational destruction. And so that's just a little insight into how it's sort of the anatomy of a smear, the anatomy of that kind of labeling and that kind of smear campaign.
Who do you think invented cancel culture?
Cancel culture has been around.
This guy is not going to challenge him on any of the bullshit all the conspiracy theories. Are you not going to push back on anything? Great job, man.
Who do you think invented cancel culture?
Cancel culture has been around forever. I think it's maybe a better way to say.
What a stupid question. From the dawn of man, from the beginning. I mean, I'm pretty sure there was two caveman times. I'm pretty sure there was one guy that was expressing something regarding hunting areas where the other people didn't like, and they smashed his head in with a rock. So I'm pretty sure we had ever since we had humans, we had cancel culture to some extent. You know who did cancel culture to the extreme? His people. Nazis did cancel culture by creating an industry out of killing people who didn't agree with them. The guy that he loves, the two guys that he loves, Hitler and Stalin, were the champions of cancel culture.
Sure.
Cancel culture has been around forever. I think it's maybe a better way to say it is it's character assassination. And we live in an open society.
Oh my God, boo-hoo-hoo. Somebody on the internet said something mean about you. Fucking idiot. The people who you admire did cancel culture by eliminating people en masse.
I don't think there's a lot of assassinations anymore, although that's not really the case this year. Charlie Kirk was killed. They tried to kill Donald Trump. But generally speaking, we don't live in a very violent...
Charlie Kirk, your enemy. Your enemy.
It's this year. Charlie Kirk was killed. They tried to kill Donald Trump. But generally speaking, we don't live in a very violent political order. So what they do now is they engage in reputational destruction, character assassination. If they don't like what you're saying, they go out there and they, like I said, they look for your worst moment, a bad joke, a salacious personal scandal.
It's interesting because we have watched him in context, and he actually those clips were not out of context. But the fact that he's saying that suggests to me that he wants to go more mainstream. So he is softening his tone, and he's suggesting those clips were just jokes or out of context or bad clips of him. So it seems to me like he's trying to change strategy and not be as now that he's going mainstream, to not be as radical in appearance, at least. It seems like it.
And then do
you guys agree with me in that in the chat? Let me know if you're sensing the same thing.
Worst moment, a bad joke, a salacious personal scandal, and then they air that out to hurt your reputation and get you to apologize or stop saying what you're saying. And so I think that cancel culture has been around for a long time, but now the people that are using it the most, it is the billionaire political class. It is the oligarchs, effectively.
Oh, the billionaire political class. You sound like Bernie fucking Sanders. This is the horseshoe theory in effect right in front of you. We got a super chat. Comrade Shifty saying the host is the Timu version of Tucker Carlson. Qatar. Okay, thank you, Comrade Shifty. Thank you for the super chat.
Because you look at the most powerful people that are running our country, they have blood on their hand. They have blood on their hands. These are some of the worst people in the world. We're just now seeing some of the Jeffrey Epstein files come out. This is a notorious trafficker who rolls with underage girls, engages in blackmail. Of course, he dies under mysterious circumstances. He's friends with the most powerful people in the world. They're engaged in war crimes. They're engaged in corruption, bribery, lobbying.
Shauna is saying Fuentes is trying to clean up his image for sure. Interesting. Yeah, I was getting the same sense. Shauna, thank you so much for the super chat.
Billionaires are never canceled. It's always small-time political activists. It's all.
Do you feel fucking canceled, Nick Fuentes? Do you feel canceled? Boo fucking who? What the fuck? Look, you have one of the largest platforms on earth. You have it's amazing how the people who cry about being canceled are usually the people who have more access to people's eyes and ears than most people. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Ways rogue congressmen like Thomas Massey or Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's an asymmetry, which is to say that it's always media money and power that are using reputational destruction against the weaker people typically that have very little influence or very little power. And they do that to silence dissent. So cancel culture is something that is used mainly by the powerful. It's asymmetric warfare.
You noted on your stream last night, it led me to this logical conclusion that they kind of manufactured it in a way like, oh, this is racist, this is homophobic, this is transphobic. But really, the only effect you get is when you say something anti-Semitic, you know?
Right.
So, like, are you conspiratorial to the point where you believe that the whole thing was manufactured just so no one...
I mean, that's bullshit. That is absolutely bullshit. I remember during the BLM riots that was happening, I remember losing most of my friends, losing some of our platform, people removing donations, unsubscribing, just because we said that saying that when the police is arresting you, don't resist, is dangerous for Black. I remember losing so many of my Facebook friends and so many people trying to get rid of us by just simply saying that if you tell Black people that resisting arrest is a good idea, because if the police in America arrests you, they're going to kill you. Remember that those times it was like lunacy, like it was America was on crazy mode. Basically it came down to this. I suggested that no, the police in America, they're not trying to kill Black people, okay? And if the police is arresting you, do not resist arrest. And if it's a wrongful arrest, just fight it in the court, because resisting arrest could get you killed. And people were saying that I'm being racist because police in America wants to kill you anyways. So if you resist arrest, it's not going to increase the chances of you dying, because they're just out there to kill you anyways. That was a time that America was like really on crazy mode for a couple of months, I think. I don't remember how long it took. And I remember people being so fucking angry that I said that. And then I doubled down, of course, as I usually do. So this idea of like, oh, people are just sensitive about Jews, and if you say this about any other group of people, they don't mind. Are you fucking kidding me? I lost friends because I call people retarded, and they're like, oh my God, that's ableist. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is like the fact that you say that this only happens with Jews, the fact that they're pretending that this only happens when you're being racist against Jews shows that you are obsessed with Jews. It's not the world that is obsessed with Jews. It's the Jew haters who are obsessed with Jews. Let me see. We got a super chat. Shauna saying, today Fuentes has a huge platform, but to be fair, he was canceled, but on put on a no-fly list. Private conversations leaked. payment processing canceled. Yeah, and my point is, look at the effect. My point is that was he canceled? So Shana, my point is that there was an attempt of cancellation. Look, my experience is that it backfires. Usually it backfires. So what you're saying doesn't negate my point. When I say he wasn't canceled, when you give me those examples, those are examples of an attempted cancellation, but obviously he wasn't canceled because look at him now. Usually these things backfire. I might be wrong about that. I mean, when people tried to cancel me, it actually worked in my favor.
Like, are you conspiratorial to the point where you believe that the whole thing was manufactured just so no one could say anything that was considered anti-Semitic by their standards?
I think it speaks to who wields the power in the country, because there's that famous adage, which is to learn who rules over you, learn who you're not allowed to criticize.
By the way, that's a Nazi quote. It's not a Voltaire quote as people usually think. That's a Nazi quote. Who said that, by the way? Who's the actual person who said that? Was it Himmler? Who was it?
That's attributed to Voltaire. Voltaire didn't say that, but nevertheless, it's very...
Oh, yeah, he knows Voltaire didn't say that. Are you going to say that the person who said that was a Nazi leader? Who was that person, guys, who said that? He knows it wasn't, but he's not going to say that's a Nazi quote because it's not going to go look good on him.
Very true. And it goes without saying, if you're at your job, you can't criticize your boss. You can't ridicule or attack your boss. Why? Your boss has power over you. If you offend him, he'll fire you. Similarly, in the United States, for roughly the last 10 or 15 years, it was very acceptable to attack straight white men, Christians. They were the butt of every joke. You could make fun of Southerners. You could make fun of hillbillies with Southern accents. You could make fun of white people for not having a culture, not being able to dance, attribute all the evils of the world to white people or Christians for that matter. You were not allowed to criticize racial and religious and ethnic minorities. You couldn't criticize blacks, Hispanics, Asians. Couldn't talk about mass migration. What has changed in the past year, though, is that it seems that some of the political correctness concerning the minorities has gone away. And in the past year, it seems now you're able to talk a little bit more openly about, let's say, black crime. People talk about black fatigue. You're able to talk more about illegal immigration, which is largely an Hispanic issue. You're able to talk about Indians in a derogatory way. But what is interesting is that... All
right, so the person who said that quote was Kevin Alfred Storm, who was a neo-Nazi and a white supremacist. So I was right about that. Wow, I'm very impressed.
Here after the Trump revolution in 24, Trump gets back in, political correctness seems to be dead. You look across the board, you can still criticize white people, and the left frequently does. Now you're able to criticize non-white people and the racial ethnic minorities. But the one group you're still not allowed to criticize is Jews.
What are you talking about? People criticize Jews all the fucking time. What do you mean not allowed? Not only they are getting criticized. Remember, guys, we did a live stream reviewing one of these videos of them saying the most nasty racist shit against Jews, and it was on YouTube. And they're allowed, they can get monetized. They get monetized, not just criticizing Jews, but being racist against Jews. What the fuck are you talking about? Pretending like you guys are the victim. What the fuck? Shauna just gave us another super chat saying, I think it was a canceling. I just think he was able to come back because unfortunately there is an appetite for it. Yeah, so if he was able to come back, in my opinion, that makes it an attempted canceling. If you come back, that means it was a failure, right?
Called racist, that gets laughed off now. If you're called anti-white, well, the left is pretty openly anti-white. But to this day, you still cannot be, so-called or in reality, anti-Semitic. And if you're following the logic, you can't.
I mean, I don't know, guys. When I look at Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, go look at my Facebook. Every time I make a post defending Israel, there's like a flood of anti-Jewish comments, and they don't even get removed. Ever since X has become, less censorial, everywhere else is non-censorial as well. Like Facebook is filled with Jew hatred and they're not getting removed. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I know you're trying to. I know the identitarian right is basically the same as the identitarian left. You guys like to play the victim, but boo fucking who, motherfuckers? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're not the victim. It's the same everywhere.
Criticize the powerful, those that rule over you. That would seem to suggest that if you can't criticize, maybe they're the most powerful ethnic group in the United States of America. I think that's logical.
Which, no, it's not logical. First of all, nobody has proven that rule. Just because somebody said that doesn't make it a rule. It doesn't even make any sense. There are many places where people are ruling over you and you can criticize them. So that the rule doesn't make any fucking sense. You just made up a rule. What the fuck? Yeah,
They're the most powerful.
And also, if they're the most powerful ethnic group, then your Hitler was fucking wrong about the guy that you admire, Hitler, which you call a cool man, right? He was wrong about which ethnicity is the superior ethnicity. I mean, if they are this powerful, then fucking bend the knee, I guess.
Full ethnic group in the United States of America. I think that's logical.
Nick, I do want to touch on that in a bit. First, I want to talk briefly about your backstory. I feel as though your interviews with Patrick Bet-David and Tucker kind of covered that fairly well. But some similarity that you and I have is you're a fellow speech and debate kid, right? You won 4 competitions in extemporaneous speaking in 2015, which is basically like giving a political speech on the fly. Do you think like being a debate kid kind of made you the speaker you are? Or do you think you've kind of always had this interest?
I always had this interest.
Well, very hard question. Not pushing back on any of the bullshit that he just said.
I always loved politics. Ever since I was 12 or 11 years old, it was always my thing. I started to get into it really because I was just curious about the world. You sort of start to develop your consciousness around that age. You could say when you're like 10, 11, 12 years old, start to become aware. And I just started to think about worldly things. I wanted to know about history. I wanted to know about politics. The 2012 election was coming up. And I was a very young boy, but I wanted to know what was happening. So I went all in and I read as much as I could. I really got into the libertarian stuff. I got into Milton Friedman, Thomas Sowell. And
by the way, look, people say you can't criticize Jews. Look at the comments in our chat. Somebody's saying, stop eating babies. You fucked you. I don't know what Jews. Again, YouTube, not my opinions. But apparently this guy thinks that Jews eat babies. And he's telling them to stop. And he's in our chat.
Then in high school, I really did get into, like you said, extemporaneous speaking, speech team, Model UN.
Did you do that your senior year?
I did it the whole time I was in high school, yeah.
Got it. I was curious, did you ever, because it's a fairly leftist activity, did you ever lose any competitions or like get in beef with anyone over saying something controversial in that activity?
Oh yeah, all the time. I'll never forget. I was at sectionals or regionals. I think I won sectionals and maybe got to regionals my junior year, and they gave us one of the topics I got for extemporaneous speaking was about Obama, and in the speech I said Obama wasn't born in America. And I think every judge ranked me in last place just because I said that.
That makes sense.
It was very left-wing, yeah.
I had a fairly similar experience with the activity. I did quite well, actually. Like I was a...
Well, did you have any evidence? I mean, that made sense for them to score you down because did you have any evidence that he wasn't born in America?
National champion in it. So like, that's why I was so nerdy and went through your stuff. And I was like, how was Nick in this activity? Because he's a great speaker, but I can't imagine him doing that well with libertarian or conservative beliefs. Did you ever get kicked off the team, or were they pretty cool with you overall?
They were cool. The coaches knew that I was extremely conservative and they were very liberal, but they were pretty tolerant. Ironically, it was a bit more tolerant before Trump ran for office.
Right. Yeah.
For some reason, I think that.
I think Trump was really great for the woke left. Trump's rise in power, his presidency was a really good excuse for the woke left to grow.
Things had been polarized at that point, but Trump just took it to another level. So as a libertarian conservative, They were fairly tolerant, and that was maybe a less radical viewpoint. Also, that was sort of before nationalism came to the center. But no, they were fairly tolerant.
I think you kind of hinted who has the power to silence someone like you, but can you kind of give me an organizational chart of influence as you see it?
Sure. So,
okay, here we go. Find the Jew. Find the Jew. Again, this is why I know these people are Jew haters rather than just being anti-Zionist. Because I think I'm actually not sure. Maybe he's not going to do that. But guys, there are Jews everywhere, and Jews are usually more successful than other people. So whatever happens, you're going to be able to find a Jew within an organization and just blame them. So let me see if he's going to play that game.
I frequently talk about how the United States has a oligarchy. And maybe it's important to understand how power works in America. When people think about power, they think about government. Think about the president, they think about Congress, they think about elections and elected officials. But I think anybody that spends any amount of time thinking about this situation understands that there's a tremendous power of money in politics, because an elected official like the president has to raise $1 billion every 4 years. And who has the money to spend every 4 years $50 million, $100 million, without actually a tangible or direct return on investment? Maybe it's something qualitative, maybe it's something hard to calculate. It's not like, for example, buying a factory. Investing $100 million to buy influence is less tangible. Well, the answer is simple. It's billionaires. Billionaires have hundreds of millions of.
It's not just billionaires. It's businesses. It's people. These are not just individuals. These are people within certain industries trying to make sure that the interest of their industries are basically, the White House is paying attention to them, and it's a good investment. Guys, we're not talking about individuals. We're talking about businesses, corporations, industries, and actually money. I've done more reading and studying in this, and I think it actually has a good effect, because if you just leave it up to the people, the ballot box, and people voting, people are not very we need to have that, but we need to have a balancing effect of what makes economical sense. Because when people vote, they don't understand how the economy works, but industries do, and they think more long term than individuals who just want the government to give them quote unquote free stuff, which is good for them in the short run, but hurts the economy in the long term. We need companies who understand how the economies work and are invested more in the long term to come and influence politics to some degree with their money, because the more they make money, the more people would get paid, the more competition we will have, the cheaper products will be, the higher quality the products will be. So their influence, we need both. We need the ballot and we need the wallet. They both complement each other.
Dollars to spend every 4 years. And you can go on Open Secrets and you can look at the top 10 individual contributors per cycle, and it's fairly consistent. It's people like Miriam Adelson. This cycle, it was Elon Musk, Tim Mellon, Reid Hoffman, a number of others. And so you have to understand about politics that it's a money system.
Yeah, why are you against money? It's almost like you guys are a bunch of commies who hate wealth and rich people and money. Like, what's wrong? Like, conservatives are supposed to be pro-business, pro-wealth. Like, look, the more radical you get, the more like the far left you become.
Politics is controlled by money. And what does the money buy? Well, it buys favorable regulatory oversight. It buys favorable treatment in a particular jurisdiction, in a particular state, or from the federal government. And so to create an organizational flowchart, I would say something like this. You've got Congress and the presidency. They actually have to answer to their billionaire donors. Where do billionaires come from? Billionaires come from industries like Silicon Valley, Wall Street. Where do those people come from?
From providing solutions to people's problems, from generating wealth, from people who have proven themselves to be more valuable to society than others. So yeah, we need to actually look after them and make sure that things continue move in the direction that made them wealthy, so that we could have more wealth in our society.
Somebody at Silicon Valley comes from Stanford University. Where are all the big Silicon Valley founders and entrepreneurs from? They all come from Stanford University, which is the premier college that's in that area. And so you understand that it's a intelligentsia, academic, money, and political system. And once you understand that we have a...
Many people who are very rich actually were more focused on business than academia. Many people within academia are poor. Many people who started their businesses earlier are richer, like on average.
Academic, money, and political system. And once you understand that we have a system that isn't primarily about elections, then you maybe begin to understand how influence is actually exercised in the country. And I would say that for the most part, people's understanding of politics is basically correct. I think what they get wrong is they don't see how particular groups or special interests will try to control the bottlenecks or particular choke points in the system. So, for example, a lot of people talk about AIPAC, American Israel Public Affairs Committee,
which is a very small lobbying group compared to most other lobby groups. But you guys are obviously obsessed with them because they're Jewish. I mean, from all the lobby groups, why would you mention that one? And not a very big one, by the way.
I like to say, well, when you look at the biggest contributors, the biggest lobbies in politics,
it's not, it's guys, the lobbying from the dentistry industry is bigger than the lobby for AIPAC. Did you guys know that? AIPAC is not that big of a lobby. It's actually small compared to many other influential lobbies.
Well, when you look,
but it's like, this is why we know that you're a bunch of anti-Semites, or a better word for it is Jew haters, because you're obsessed with everything Jewish.
Look at the biggest contributors, the biggest lobbies in politics. AIPAC doesn't tend to show up. Well, why is that? It's how AIPAC operates. AIPAC doesn't actually do a lot of direct giving to a particular politician. But what they do is they manage a number of different billionaires or high-level millionaires and their political giving. So they'll find the candidate they like, and if that person pledges allegiance to Israel, they'll pick up the phone and they'll call their group of donors, and all those donors will give as individuals. This way it doesn't show up on the paperwork. This is one of the ways it's concealed and obfuscated.
Wait, so that's just individuals supporting the politicians. This is called the freedom of speech. It's called Americans supporting the politicians that they think supports their interests very well. Do you know, as an American, you're allowed to spend money on advertising the politician that you like more? You understand that, Nick, right? So, and these are Americans expressing their interest in a politician winning, and spending their money is a form of expressing what they want. If I'm not very rich and I like a politician, if I have like $20 and I use that $20 to go print some paper, some pamphlet with my politician's name on it and hand it out in the street, that's me using my money to support the politicians that I like. So if I can do it, somebody with more money can do that as well. It's called freedom of expression. And these are Americans. This is not a foreign. These are not foreigners. These are Americans. But you're obsessed with them just because they're Jewish.
Moreover, in the last cycle in 2024, AIPAC marshaled $100 million to spend. Now, in the grand scheme of things, that's not a ton of money, actually, because billions of dollars are spent across all the different elections, presidential election, congressional elections. But what did AIPAC do specifically? They singled out every congressman that voted against foreign aid to Israel last April.
Wow, they censored the word Israel? Guys, am I if when I say Israel on YouTube, do we get punished? Or are these people just like cowards? Like, is that like, should I not say the word Israel? Is Israel a dirty word? Did they just censor Israel?
Every congressman that voted against foreign aid to Israel last April.
Foreign aid to Israel. They censored Israel. Is it three options? Either Israel, saying Israel gets you punished on YouTube. Two, these people are just a bunch of cowards who are overreacting. Or three, they know that saying Israel doesn't hurt your channel, but they're censoring it to act like Israel is like, you cannot mention Israel or else they will punish you. I mean, amazing how our Jewish overlords cannot, like, they were going to come get you, but they cannot see you because you just censored the word Israel. This is kind of like when you go to a baby and you go like this and like, oh my God, like, look at you, like peekaboo, like this, you know, like the baby when you hold, like, cover your face, they think that you have disappeared. It's like, so do Jews not see you criticizing Israel if you just censor those words? Is that how it works? I don't understand. Should I not say Israel?
Every congressman that voted against foreign aid to Israel last April, some progressives and one Republican, Thomas Massey, they funneled $100 million, a lot of that money, into those particular races. They funded primary candidates that would take the nomination from the incumbents. And so, for example, in Massachusetts and other states, you had progressive Democrats that took the nomination from an incumbent Democrat congressman. And what they do by focusing on, let's say, a handful of races, singling out, isolating the 3 or 4 congressmen and women that voted against, they make those people lose the election. What they do is create a chilling effect. They don't have to spend millions of dollars in
Guys, say Israel in the chat. Say Israel in the chat. I want to see if it's going to hurt our channel. Just say Israel. Type Israel.
And that voted against. They make those people lose the election. What they do is create a chilling effect. They don't have to spend millions of dollars in every race. If they spend it in 3, everybody else gets the message, which is they could single you out. They could target you. So a lot of people say it's...
Yeah, it's called playing politics. It's called, if a politician says stuff that you don't like, you go and spend money on their opposition. Yeah, that's how you do. It's not just AIPAC. Every other lobby group does that.
Just not worth the trouble. And this is how you can have AIPAC rally resources in just a few districts, but send a message to all of Congress, which is, if you go against us, if you go against Israel, you will lose your seat. So there's this process of refinement. It's not to say that everybody in Congress is necessarily...
I mean, if you go against Israel, you should lose your seat. So I thank you, AIPAC. You know what the problem with AIPAC is, guys? The problem with AIPAC is that they don't have enough money. We should support. AIPAC should be spending more money. AIPAC should have more resources. They should have more wealth, because they're basically saving the world by trying to remove the politicians who are anti-Israeli. So we should thank AIPAC for their service, but also criticize them for not doing more.
Being bribed to the tune of millions of dollars, but everybody knows the score, which is that in order to be in Congress, you have to pass that check.
Guys, if you write Israel in the chat, put a heart next to it as well, so that the Jew haters get butthurt. Yeah, I think they don't, because they're saying free Palestine in response to your Israel. So put Israel and the Israeli flag and then a heart next to it. Let's piss off some people here.
Which is that in order to be in Congress, you have to pass that check. If you don't, you might be dealing with $20 million from AIPAC funding a primary challenger in your district. And that's just sort of one example of how they'll take a bottleneck or a choke point and a very determined, motivated, organized, powerful group can have an outsized and disproportionate amount of influence.
Yeah, that's good. That's how other lobbies work as well. And that's why AIPAC needs to be bigger. It's amazing how he doesn't spend this much time talking about the Qatari lobby in the United States, which is so much more bigger. And it's not a good ally, at least. He doesn't talk about that. He doesn't talk about the Islamic Republic lobby, illegal lobby groups in the United States. I mean, Qatar and Saudi Arabia spend so much astronomically more money on US politics, and this guy doesn't spend time on those, and their influence is damaging. Israel, first of all, Israel doesn't have any lobby group. AIPAC is an American lobby group by Jewish Americans. Israel should have a lobby group, and it doesn't. But Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar, they spend a shit ton of money, and their influence is, unlike Israel's influence on the United States, their influence is negative. So why aren't you talking about those? Why aren't you talking about those, Nick? It's almost as if you're obsessed with Jews. It's almost as if you're a fucking Nazi.
This feels like a very Gen Z blunt question to ask, but like, why do they even want to be in Congress? Like, why does Trump even want to be president if he can't like really enact real change? Like, is it just a money motivation that they have access to?
That's sort of an interesting question, because everybody assumes that corruption is all about money.
Right.
A lot of people think that someone like Donald Trump or the politicians, they are there for their own personal enrichment. They're getting paid off. The rich get richer. But I think it's deeper than that. What they really are after is power. And somebody like Donald Trump or a congressperson, everybody wants to be the king of the hill. Everybody that's in Congress or in the Senate, they want to be the president one day.
But is it implied power or is it actual power?
It's actual power.
Okay.
And it's there's sort of a deal that's made, which is they know that they don't have absolute power. So, for example, a Trump will need.
What are you fucking talking about? Of course they don't have absolute power. These people are retarded. They think they sound very intelligent, but they're saying nothing at all.
That they don't have absolute power. So, for example, a Trump will need buy-in from powerful factions in the country. How does he get to be the president?
Of course he does. It's because the United States is a democracy. Guys, even in tyrannical countries, the dictator needs the supports of different groups and different factions and different institutions and the army and the church and the mosques or a minority group. Even in dictatorial regimes, it's like that. You're saying, like, in a democracy, the United States president doesn't have absolute power and needs the support of other people to do. What a revelation. Wow, you guys are really educating us. What the fuck are you talking about? Of course it's like that.
Buy-in from powerful factions in the country. How does he get to be the president? He's going to need buy-in from Wall Street, from Silicon Valley. He needs their backing. And
this guy actually thinks he's really smart and he understands politics in a nuanced way, but he's basically saying something that is pretty fucking obvious.
There's a trade-off that's made. I'll scratch your back if you make me president. If I get to be king, I'll give you favorable treatment. So Trump is not going to have true absolute power, personal power over everything.
I mean, even if it wasn't like that, he wouldn't have absolute power, because you have the separations of power, and because United States is a federation. It's called the Fed. So obvious, even if it wasn't Wall Street or this special group or that interest group or that minority group, even if it wasn't like that, he would still not have absolute power, because we have different branches of the government, and we also have the states, which they have their own power. They have their holy shit, man. This guy actually, if you're a Nick Fuentes fan, you're fucking retarded for thinking this man is intelligent. Like, what is he saying? Did you listen to this and you think like, wow, man, that was so deep. He really knows his politics.
But he might have personal power as president to reward his friends and punish his enemies. He's going to be the king of the hill for 4 or 8 years. He'll have his legacy. That's a very powerful motivator that I don't think people give enough serious consideration.
Nick, if you could make one government agency disappear overnight, which would it be?
I would
What is he going to say? One government agency, probably anything responsible for aid or military, foreign wars.
Overnight, which would it be?
I would probably make the FBI disappear overnight.
Wow, guys, if this guy was in charge, you would be less secure in America. One of your most effective enforcement mechanisms in the United States is going to be removed from this guy because of this guy. This is fucking retarded. Like, you guys are going to be much less protected because of if this guy was in charge.
I would, to be honest, I would take a lot of the intelligence agencies. I'd take all of them put together and get rid of them overnight.
Why?
Wow, guys, United States would be the only country on the planet without intelligence units, intelligence agencies. You will become you will go from being one of the strongest country in the world to one of the most vulnerable one overnight if this guy was in charge. Really, you want to have a country with no intelligence agencies? Good luck with that. This guy is actually an idiot.
To be honest, I would take a lot of the intelligence agencies. I'd take all of them put together and get rid of them overnight.
Why?
Because every single one of them is completely infiltrated by foreign agents.
He means, guys, he means Jews. He means Jews. He's not saying that because he's trying to go soften a little bit. But he said he means Jews. When he says foreign agents, he means Jews.
And I think that the United States should have an intelligence service, and we need a federal law enforcement. So you need something like an FBI. You need something like a CIA. But the problem is that all of the federal law enforcement and intelligence, which maybe have the most freedom of action, they have arguably the most raw power out of anybody in the country. Over generations, they have all been systematically infiltrated by various nation states.
He means Jews. So so he wants intelligence agencies, but we need to cleanse it from some So we need some cleansing.
A good example is our national security advisor, Mike Waltz. Now, this is not strictly speaking part of the intelligence apparatus, but it's maybe the most egregious example in the national security state. Mike Waltz is the national security advisor. He creates the briefings and the plans and all of the memos for the president on national security. So anything concerning war, terrorism, proliferation of WMD, he creates that briefing. He informs the president. Trump appointed Mike Waltz. Mike Waltz was fired 3 months after he got the job because he was texting Bibi Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, on an encrypted Israeli messaging app. And they believed that he was actually working on behalf of Netanyahu to push the United States into a war with Iran. So when you have that kind of corruption at the highest levels of the...
I told you he means Jews. Didn't I tell you he means Jews? Foreign agents. You know, I mean, what are the chances of Nick being worried about any other fucking country being involved? I mean, guys, just go look at how much influential Qatar and Saudi Arabia are being in American politics in the past couple of years. Well, I mean, ever since Trump became president, to be honest. More influential than they ever used to be. So why is he, when he talks about foreign agents, why is he not talking about that? I knew it was going to be Jews, and it is Jews.
With Iran. So when you have that kind of corruption at the highest levels of the most important organs of the government, the national security state, you have to start from scratch. You don't.
So guys, think about it this way. Israel wants United States to join Israel in doing regime change in Iran, which is the right thing to do, by the way. And Saudi Arabia and Qatar don't want President Trump to do that. And right now, Saudi Arabia is winning, especially Saudi Arabia is winning. So you could see who has more influence. You could see who has more influence over American politics.
Know who's working for who. You have to fire everybody and then rebuild all of it with loyal Americans, people that it's unambiguous to work.
Oh, we got a super chat by a Jew hater. So saying, America is done with AIPAC and Zionism on both sides. I'm a Jew. You're a Jew-hating Jew if you are a Jew. Zionism is the Jewish right to self-determination. So you're a Jew-hating Jew if you are and you're taking a position against Jewish people. I don't care. I don't give a shit that you're a Jew. The fact that you're anti-Zionism makes you retarded. Saying it's disgusting and racist. You're racist. Why is it racist? How is it racist to finally allow Jews? Zionism is just basically nationalism for Israel. How does everybody else get to have nationalism but not the Jews? That's pretty fucking racist. The fact that we think it's normal for every other group of people to have the right to self-determination, but not the Jews, that is racist. So being anti-Zionism, that is racist. So Zionism is not racist. You're the racist one here. Saying the original Jews happen to be Arab, like the Yazidis, like the Yazidis, I think you mean. I don't give a shit about the original. I mean, that sounds a whole bunch of conspiracy bullshit, but I don't care. I care about who Jew haters consider to be Jews, because those are the ones we need to protect. I don't care about the origin story. I don't care about where they were, where they came from. I care about now, and I care about where we're heading. And when we care about the Jews, I care about who the fucking Jew haters, like this motherfucker Nick Fuentes, who they consider to be Jews. They are the people who we need to. This is why Israel defined the term Jew the same way the Nazis defined it, because their understanding was, their logic behind that was that if you're Jew enough for the Nazis, then you're Jew enough for Israeli protection. So that's what I care about. I don't care about your origin story. Jews happen to, okay. Abraham was from Iraq. I don't give a shit where Abraham was from. It's irrelevant. We're talking about today. We're talking about saving people from racism and allowing Jews to determine their own destiny and save themselves from all the hate around the world. And Zionism does that. And in fact, the more you motherfuckers, the more Jew haters and anti-Israelis and anti-Zionists, the more you open your mouth, the more you are showing to the world how Zionism, at least you're convincing people who support Israel how important the existence of Israel is. Because we have seen, I mean, we know, but the whole world have seen a taste of what happens when Jew haters get their hands on Jews. So Israel exists to fight back against all of that, and in the process is saving the rest of the world as well. So you could hate Zionism, but Israel is not going anywhere, motherfucker. Israel is kicking ass and taking names, and you guys could just watch it rise and become more and more powerful, because there's nothing you motherfuckers can do about it. Just cry.
For the United States of America, all of it with loyal Americans, people that it's unambiguous are working for the United States of America.
Senators Ted Cruz and Mitch McConnell denounce you. Vice President J.D. Vance says that you're a total loser, disavows you, and you're not part of the MAGA movement. Do you think they're embarrassed by you, or do you think they're afraid of you?
They are afraid of what I represent, which is what has happened with MAGA. It started out as a revolutionary movement. What was the message of MAGA? It was America first, Americanism, not globalism. And deeper than that, Trump said, when I get elected in 2016, he said, we are going to throw out all the super PACs, all the lobbyists, all the global banks, the global special interests. People forget how radical that first campaign was. And then immediately, once Trump won the election, all the interests came in. The Republican Party filled the White House with their personnel. The special interests like Sheldon Adelson, like Ken Griffin from Citadel on Wall Street, all the interests poured in, and they gradually and slowly captured.
Who was that second person?
Interests like Sheldon Adelson, like Ken Griffin from Citadel on Wall Street. All the interests poured in, and they gradually and slowly captured Trump, Mar-a-Lago, MAGA, and they made the Trump movement serve the GOP and their special interests, such that by 2020, Trump was unrecognizable. At 16, he said, we're going to end foreign wars. We're going to build a wall. We're going to end free trade. In 2020, he was bragging about moving Israel's embassy to Jerusalem, lowest black unemployment in history, cut the corporate tax rate by over 10%. It was a completely different campaign. And what I
cutting the corporate tax rate is a good thing. Are you a commie? Are you one of those far leftists?
I not only represent the young people, but I represent the actual promise of the original Trump revolution, realizing America first, Americanism, not globalism. And so you have people like Ted Cruz or JD Vance. They see MAGA as effective.
He said America, not
Americanism, not globalism.
Americanism, not globalism. America became a great country because of globalism. You fucking idiot. America would not be able to be such a big, powerful country, the greatest country on earth, without globalism. Are you guys this stupid? Like, do you have no idea how America became such a rich country? It was through globalism. Wow. These people are so stupid. You basically want to stand against the same forces that made your country great. Isolationism don't understand how the economy works.
Revolution, realizing America first, Americanism, not globalism. And so you have people like Ted Cruz or JD Vance. They see MAGA as effectively a form of a Trojan horse. It looks like and is dressed up like something new, something different, something unconventional that actually challenges power. In reality, now that Trump has been elected the second time, it's a true Trojan horse. What awaits inside the Trump movement is lobbyists. Inside of it is the corporate interest. That's why Trump gets elected.
What's wrong with the corporate interest? Why, guys, Americans, do you hate the corporate interest? You know what you know, corporations are businesses. You know what businesses are? Businesses are these entities that are meant to solve problem, employ people, create goods and services that people need, and their interest is your interest. And they're actually better at recognizing your interest often. So what is so wrong with, does he not sound like Bernie Sanders? He sounds like Bernie Sanders. What's wrong with corporate interest?
It's a true Trojan horse. What awaits inside the Trump movement is lobbyists. Inside of it is the corporate interest. That's why Trump gets elected. He buries the Epstein files. He bombs Iran. He extends the corporate tax cuts.
He bombed the Islamic Republic because they were developing a nuclear fucking weapon, you fucking idiot.
If somebody like myself is able to have a platform, then we will expose how MAGA has been corrupted. And then potentially in 2028, we might get another crack at actually having a populist takeover of the GOP. They would be happy if people would pretend that Trump of 2024 is the same as Trump of 2016, so that it's going to protect their grift. That's why they don't like me.
Yeah, to be honest with you, Nick, I did some deep research on you because I kind of had the same suspicion that Tucker says he has about maybe you being a Fed. But I asked pretty much the only person I would trust about this answer, and he said he'd had some conversations with you. I can't dox him, but it's a very wealthy fellow. And he basically implied to me that you can't be bought and you can't be blackmailed in the same way that maybe someone like Trump could be, which is a reason that I think your message is considered so dangerous, is because they know they can't really get to you. But as far as Trump, like, what do you think was the moment that he became compromised? Or do you think he ever truly wanted like a genuine MAGA?
I think that Trump is not an ideological force. And if you pay very close attention to the things that he says, it's very clear that his skill set is in marketing and campaigning. He knows how to play to an audience. He knows how to give people what they want. And I think what happened in 2016 is that he identified that there was a need that had to be filled, which is to say that the Republican base was very clear about what they wanted. They were mad about the cultural transformation of the country. That's why they really didn't like Obama. So Trump came out with a message that said, we're going to make America great again. We're going to say Merry Christmas again. We're going to take all the illegals and get them out. And we're going to blame.
Most people continued saying Merry Christmas.
We're going to say Merry Christmas again. We're going to take all the illegals and get them out. And we're going to blame China for taking our jobs. He knew the message that people wanted to hear. He effectively pandered and is a true demagogue in that sense. And then once he got elected, I'll never forget there was something very specific he said in 2017. He did one of his first rallies after winning the presidency, and his audience started chanting, "Lock her up," about Hillary Clinton. And Trump, responding to the chant, said, "Well, that's something that plays good before the election," he said. And in that, he gave away the whole game, which is, did he really want Hillary?
He was just being honest, actually.
And in that, he gave away the whole game, which is, did he really want Hillary Clinton to face justice? No, there was never any intention to.
Okay, I don't like Hillary Clinton, but there's nothing that she has done that made her, that would make justice, that would mean justice is her going to jail. What the fuck are you talking about? I honestly don't like Hillary Clinton, but justice for you is Hillary Clinton going to jail? For what? Am I missing something?
Put Hillary Clinton in jail. He knew that saying that would help him win, saying that would endear him to the voters. Once he was elected, he realized that's not going to be politically acceptable. That will not be tolerated by the system. And so he wasn't going to stand on business and actually fight for accountability, no matter what it cost him, politically speaking. He said, well, if that's inconvenient, then I just won't do it. And so he sort of gave away the game. I think that from the beginning, it was always about him becoming president. And that's why his politics have changed so much, so wildly over the years, whether it was the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. You get a different Trump in every decade. So I think at the end of the day, it was always about him.
So you would assume that they kind of already had control over him, already had blackmail on him, and he kind of knew that?
I don't
because
think
I'm not sure what's in the Epstein files. I haven't looked at it too closely. My editor was telling me something about Donald Trump and Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of tell me about that, and if you think that Trump is like guilty of that kind of thing, maybe.
That wouldn't make him guilty. If Donald Trump and Bill Clinton had oral sex, why would that make him guilty? Are you guys against adults having consensual sex? So he's referring to the leaked emails regarding Boba and Boba being Bill Clinton. And did Boba give Donald Trump oral sex, or was it the other way around?
Donald Trump and Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of tell me about that, and if you think that Trump is like guilty of that kind of thing, maybe.
Guilty?
With Epstein, I'm skeptical that Trump actually did anything wrong. At least I was very skeptical because by they, I mean the Democrats have been showing the videos and pictures of Trump and Epstein for over a decade. And I really thought that if there was anything there, we would have seen it by now. And there's some truth to this argument that they did everything to stop him in 2016 and 2020 and 24. If there was anything really damning in the files, wouldn't we see it by now?
Yeah, it's like, well, why is this happening now? That's my question. Yeah.
They charged him in New York, in Georgia, 2 federal indictments. If he did anything criminal, they would have brought it to light. That being said, Trump does not want the Epstein files to get out. And he's now involved in an active cover-up because he came out.
Because you fucking idiots are going to accuse anybody that was mentioned in the files of child abuse. And also because there's court orders on the files regarding ongoing investigations. And there's also, many innocent people mentioned there that the public is going to just assume that they are child abusers just because their name was in the files.
Out with his Department of Justice in July and said there are no Epstein files. They don't exist. There's no email.
That's not what they said. You fucking idiot. They said they didn't say there's no Epstein files. They said there is no Epstein list, and they're correct about it. There was no client list. They didn't say there's no files because they were talking about the files. They were referring to the files. How could they be saying there's no files when they were referring to the files, saying that there's no client list. They're correct when they said there's no client list. Okay, this guy, this Jew hater, just gave us another super chat saying, it's Jews like yourself that cause Jews around the world to suffer. I'm not a Jew. I'm Iranian. I'm Persian. Like, you fucking idiot. Don't you see my flag? It's Jews like how what makes you think I'm a Jew? I mean, aren't you embarrassed right now? Doesn't that prove everything I say about you guys? Why do you think I'm a Jew? Like you cannot even recognize the flag. Wait, why did I give you a heart? Don't say thank you to them. This guy is a Torah is saying, Armin, come on, you know you're a Jew. Well, I could be an honorary Jew. Can you guys making me an honorary Jew? So, but this guy should be embarrassed right now. Let me actually. So, it's Jews like you yourself that cause Jews around the world to suffer. Oh, wow. Okay. Defending Israel, which is the best way to protect Jews, is causing Jews to suffer. Sure. I mean, most Jews disagree with you, so fuck off. You give us a bad name. Again, this actually is so embarrassing for you that you're saying all of this thinking I'm a Jew. I'm not even a Jew. The actions of the Zionists make us all unsafe. No, Zionism, you don't know your own history. You don't know your own history. Go read your own history. Jews were never safe. Jews were always dependent on world powers, the world power of their time for their safety. And if those powers turned on them, then they would be fucked. Israel is Zionism, basically for the first time in history, gave the Jews the means to protect themselves without completely relying on other powers. We have lost all sympathy for what happened in the Holocaust because of Netanyahu. Well, you're a fucking idiot. That's not what the polls show. There's a lot of sympathy. There's a lot of support for Jews. Not everybody is a Jew hater. And in fact, going back to me being an Iranian and my people from Iran, the entire world is not Western Europe and North America. You do realize that, right? Because right now in my country, Iran, the support for Jews in Israel has skyrocketed. And I think that's more important because we're in the neighborhood. So I think if you actually look at Israel's surrounding, the support for Israel is increasing. So, yeah, there is some, hatred for Jews is historic. So this is not something new. The good thing is that it goes up and down. And right now it's higher compared to before. Because whenever Jews defend themselves, people hate them for it. Whenever Jews defend themselves, people hate them for it. Whenever Jews succeed, people hate them for it. But the solution is not to stop defending yourself. The solution is not to stop succeeding and progressing. The solution is to continue, because history shows that even in the worst of times, the Jewish people eventually prevailed and they overcame their obstacles and destroyed all the people who hated them. So as dark as the situation might be, at the end of the day, the people who stand against the Jews and the people who stand against Israel, the great country of Israel, they have proven to be on the losing side. And and also, not everybody hates Jews. The world has not lost sympathy for the Jews. Just go look at my country, Iran, and see how much since October 7th, the Iranian people have fell in love with Jews and Israel more and more and more every single month. And it's only increasing. And that's more important because we're in the neighborhood. And that's more important because we are the enemies of the Islamic Republic, which is the enemy of Israel. So that is, I think, more important. That should be more important to Israel, in my opinion. And none of this hatred is going to end Israel or end Zionism because I'm Israel Chai, motherfucker.
Department of Justice in July and said there are no Epstein files. They don't exist. There's no emails, no letters, no personal effects. There's nothing left, he said, other than the actual child material, which would show indecent images or photos or videos of the underage girls being abused. Well, we now know that was a lie. because, of course, now Congress has compelled the DOJ to release the things they have. And we've seen that there's tens of thousands of emails that are already out there. There'll be tens of thousands of more documents. So now it begs the question, why did Trump lie? Why did the DOJ lie and say there were no files when
They didn't lie. This guy is actually an idiot. They didn't lie. They said there's no client list. They never said there's no files. There were already files out when they said that. There was already thousands of pages of the files out when they were saying that. They were saying there's no client list. How is nobody correcting him on this?
knew that the files existed? It would seem to suggest that Trump is in the files. He knows he's in the files, and he's worried about what is in them. Here's another question. If what was in the files about Trump was innocuous, why would he be fighting so hard to keep it suppressed? It might be embarrassing. It might be politically harmful to him. At this point, it's more politically harmful to cover it up. They had to shut down Congress a month early to keep that from coming out. So the question now is, if
shutting down Congress had nothing to do with the files. It's about the Democrats trying to fund their stupid fucking healthcare.
if there is nothing
The one that wasn't supposed to need this much funding to begin with. But hey, government-run healthcare programs usually don't work.
to keep that from coming out. So the question now is, if there is nothing bad in the files about you, because we know you're in them and we know you lied about that, why are you fighting so hard to prevent it from coming out? We almost have to draw a negative inference that there's something in there that he doesn't want to get out because it might be criminal or outrageous or deeply offensive to our conscience. And I would say, all you have to do is look at the timeline to consider who might be holding the cards there. Elon Musk, in I think it was June or May, went to the Oval Office for the last time, and it didn't go well. He left the meeting, went on Twitter and said, Trump will not release the Epstein files because he knows he's in them. 1 week later, Israel attacked Iran. This is the war they've wanted for 20 years. Realistically, they've wanted it for 45 years. And
Dude, they have nothing to do with each other. They attacked Iran. They attacked the Islamic Republic because the Islamic Republic was getting so close to having a nuclear weapon. What are you on about? Just because two things happen close to each other, that doesn't mean they're necessarily related. Correlation does not prove causation. How was this guy in a debate club?
every president, from Bush to Obama to Trump to Biden, didn't give it to them. Israel bombed Iran. A week later, Trump bombed Iran. The United States is effectively now in a state of war with Iran. This is what they wanted for half of a century.
They actually, unfortunately, the United States ended the war with the Islamic Republic. Because even though Israel was doing such a great job removing the IRGC and the rest of the Islamic Republic from power, the United States got in the way and they stopped the war, unfortunately.
After the war ends, Netanyahu visits the White House to celebrate that Israel and the United States destroyed Fordo, Iran's nuclear complex. It was
Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. Get it right. Like, you don't even know what you're talking about. It was 3 different sites.
The United States destroyed Fordo, Iran's nuclear complex. It was
enrichment uranium facilities.
The day before that visit that the DOJ produced the memo saying the Epstein files would never be released because they don't exist. So it's bookended from when the Epstein files are brought up as a threat against Trump to when they're buried by the DOJ with the war in Iran. And given that Epstein was potentially Israeli intelligence, I think all signs point to Tel Aviv or Jerusalem controlling those files.
Amazing. Like, the guy, this is basically how conspiracy theorists think. This happened at the same time as that this happened a few days from that. So everything shows that this must be the guys. Things happen close to each other all the time. It doesn't mean it's related.
Gents, I think all signs point to Tel Aviv or Jerusalem controlling those files.
In fact, here's my conspiracy theory, which is probably closer to reality. You guys, the isolationists in the United States, were so pissed off of Trump actually supporting Israel in that war. And Americans don't really follow foreign policy that much, and they don't vote based on foreign policy. But because you want to talk about special interest groups, you want to talk about a tiny minority of people having a lot of influence, you isolationists realize that being so upset over Trump being involved in a war in the Middle East doesn't piss off Americans that much. Americans care about inflation, they care about their income, and those are the things that they care about the most. Okay, sometimes they might complain about like, oh my god, why are we there, but it doesn't translate into their voting behavior that much. Okay, so the reason, my conspiracy theory is, again, which is probably closer to reality, is that the reason why these things happen to be so close to each other is because the isolationist parts of the left and right, knowing that they cannot make that much of a big deal of Trump getting involved in Iran, had to come up with their own conspiracy theory to go after supporters of Israel in United States. And the Epstein file, which has nothing to do with Israel, no connection has been proven, and there's no client list, and you're not going to see a whole bunch of powerful people in handcuffs going to prison because they were on his client or anything like that. This is just all of you guys just made that all of this conspiracy out. The only thing we know is that he himself was a criminal, and the people involved in it have already been arrested. The people who are supposed to be arrested have already been arrested, and it doesn't get much further than that. But you guys decided to make something out of nothing with regards to the Epstein files, just because you needed this conspiracy to go after the neocons and supporters of Israel in the U.S. government. So this was and that's the reason why this became a big deal around the same time, because you guys had no other weapon to go after these people, right? So you made an excuse. That's what actually happened.
Quick one. Here, Nick and I are talking about corruption in the U.S. government. So if you're someone who distrusts it and has a...
This is an ad. Let's go. Oh my god. Oh wow. Is he using the distrust and the establishment and the government to sell VPNs?
They sounded like a cheat code. See, with their platform, you can take an existing IRA or 401k and convert it into one that lets you buy Bitcoin, Ethereum.
Never mind. I don't want to watch your ad. Let's go back here.
Back to the podcast. Nick, I do want to ask, during deplatforming, you mentioned anxiety and insomnia. Is that something you experienced?
Yes, absolutely.
What did...
During what?
Anxiety and insomnia. During deplatforming, you mentioned anxiety and insomnia. Is that something you experienced?
Yes, absolutely.
What did rock bottom of that look like?
Well, it wasn't dramatic. I'm not a very emotional person, but for me, rock bottom was this. I go to the Capitol on January 6th, and I really had a great career. I had already been canceled twice. First by Daily Wire, then by Turning Point USA. At that point, I'd been banned on YouTube and PayPal. So I was thoroughly canceled at this point. In spite of that, I had almost 100,000 subs on DLive, which was PewDiePie's live streaming platform. I was getting over 10,000 live viewers a night. I was making pretty good money. I was making about $50,000 a month as a completely canceled person. I had a live audience, subscriptions, a good income. I had a big following on Twitter. The week after January 6th, I got banned from DLive. I got banned from my bank that I was at, Bank of America. My checking account was shut down. My money was frozen. All my cash was frozen by the DOJ. I was put on a federal no-fly list. I was banned by my payment processors. I was banned by DLive. So I went from having a career in spite of being canceled, fighting so hard to emerge from that kind of culture, only to, because of J6, 2 weeks later, not even having a website to stream from, having no income, being broke, having no cash. And then,
wait, how could you be broke if you were making 50K a month? That should have been enough for you to have so much saving for you to make something else out of it. Did you just spend all of that money? Also, every time you get deplatformed, you come back bigger. So deplatforming doesn't work anyways.
and because I was effectively then a loser, because I was so thoroughly deplatformed, many of my friends began to turn on me. And all the other people that were there on January 6th, they feared that maybe they would be a subject of an investigation, maybe they would be deplatformed. So probably 80% of my inner circle completely abandoned me. And so rock bottom looks like that. Broke, no income, no platform, truly banned from everything, betrayed by 8 out of 10 of my friends.
Was there a specific person that kind of cut you off that hurt more than the others?
No, at that point, I was pretty desensitized.
Right.
So no, not in particular.
Nick, you've discussed an uncanny feeling about modern society. Why do you think everything feels off?
Look at this guy. Somebody says, "Oh, I have stumbled upon a demonic Jew-bred channel. Bye, losers." By the way, guys, for people who are not seeing our live chat is filled with Jew-hating comments. And they tell us that, oh, you cannot criticize Jews. Guys, even our channel is a pro-Israeli channel. And even our chat gets filled with half of the chat is anti-Jewish hatred. You see how common Jew hatred is in the world?
Well, I think that everything feels off because we're not living the way that probably most of our ancestors lived. And I'm not a big trad guy or like, so much of what you see on the internet now is this idea. Something went wrong with modernity. We need to return. And so some people say we need a primal diet. We need an ancestral diet. Some people say we need to return to the wilderness and get more in nature, be more environmental or something like that. I think it's social. I think it's all social, which is to say that we're maybe the first generation that is completely atheistic. There's no religion.
Woo!
I think that's maybe unique in the history of mankind because even primitive humanity had animism, believed that gods were in the animals and in objects, or you had pagan barbarians that had their pantheon of gods, and then you had Christians and Muslims. And so we've always been believers. We've always built idols or statues or shrines. This is the first generation that has no connection to the divine, the supernatural. There's no sense that there's anything beyond this plane of existence, beyond death even, waiting for.
We have nationalism. That's a good alternative, which is something that goes beyond you as an individual.
Beyond
your nation.
This plane of existence, beyond death even, waiting for us. That's one. Two is that we have no social fabric either. You look at the families, and when we think of what is traditional, we think of the nuclear family. And even that is not very traditional. 2 parents and their kid.
Yeah, nuclear family is actually pretty new. It came after the Industrial Revolution. Most of history, we had the extended family, not the nuclear family.
Nuclear family. And even that is not very traditional. 2 parents and their kids. What about grandparents? What about uncles and cousins and big families? Now, if you're lucky, you have 2 parents and maybe 1 sibling. That's your family. What's your community? A lot of people don't even know their neighbors. They don't know their next door neighbors. They don't have a ton in common with the people in their community. And so their social life might begin and end in like high school. You're raised by your parents, you go to school, you finish school, then you move into an apartment as a single man or woman, and you go to work. That's your life. This is a completely atomized existence. So we're not connected to the eternal, the transcendent, God. We're also not connected to each other in any meaningful way. People older than us, younger than us. We don't have big families. We don't have large communities or real society where people are rising and falling in connection with each other. And so I think that what really defines the modern age is how alone we all are as individuals.
It's mostly because of the fourth industrial revolution. It's a natural. There's nothing. Yes, determined. There's nothing you could do about it.
Maybe this is a product of liberalism. Maybe this is a
Nope.
product of the Enlightenment, the Reformation. But we are
Nope. It's a product of the fourth industrial revolution. It's economic. It's all economic. It's economic determinism.
truly disconnected from maybe our biology, from our souls, and we're disconnected from our families and everybody that coexists with us in time. And I think that's made life very lonely and then therefore very dysfunctional for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's why people like you get so many supporters, because they hate the world and they need a radical movement to get revenge. Omi, thank you so much for your super chat saying prayers for Bita, Javicha, Amazrael Chai. Yeah, guys, actually, Bita Shafi, please look at my last live stream. I'm going to do more content about her on my X account. So thank you for that, Omi. Yeah, go figure out what's happening to Bita Shafi. Look up her name. Look at the previous live stream. She's a Iranian girl who has been abducted by the government, and we don't know where she is, and we need your help to bring attention to her. I did a live stream yesterday about it, so please go watch it.
I do want to clarify. You said this earlier, you hinted at it, but before we get into your actual views, because I feel like what you've been stating is more so just logical conclusions, observations. Like, why, in your words, Nick, do you think young men trust your voice above everyone else's? And why are you the voice for Gen Z men?
I think people like me because I'm authentic. And authenticity, ironically,
I mean, I used to think you're authentic, but now that you're going mainstream and you're softening your tone, I'm actually thinking that you're not as authentic as I thought you were. I mean, you're authentically evil, but I thought you were authentically evil. But I'm saying that you're also a two-faced. Now that you're softening your tone, that shows that different ways of talking at different stages. So you're not as authentic as they thought you are.
Has become like a marketing term. Like, I see TikToks where people say, how do you market yourself? You have to be authentic. And it's like, well, isn't there something like deeply ironic about that you're like having to be self-consciously authentic to appeal and pander to people? But I think that in particular in politics, everybody is so calculating and so fake and very careful about what they say and trying to appeal to everybody, pander to everybody, try so hard not to offend. And I think that especially after wokeness, and we're maybe getting on the other side of that, people look at me and they find a lot of the things I say offensive or outrageous, or, you know, maybe they don't like certain things about me. But what maybe they all can respect is that good, bad, or ugly, there's no pretense. There's no facade. It's just me. And maybe there is an inherent credibility in that, because if somebody is out there, and you see this all the time, the apology videos, people, you know, they won't even talk about politics for fear of offending one group or the other. They try to straddle the line. You get the sense that you're not really getting that real person. You get the sense that the whole thing is sort of an elaborate performance. And of course, why would we trust somebody that's performing? It raises a natural question, which is, what are they trying to achieve? Is it about fame, money, something like that? If they look at a guy that's really willing to just say anything and everything, or maybe spitefully saying things to piss people off, they say, well, clearly this guy isn't in it for the money or the fame or to climb a political career. Or
I don't know, because I don't know if that's true, because if you are, a lot of people are saying controversial things, or like,
clearly this guy isn't in it for that. If they
because it gets clicks and it gets more views, and getting more views makes more money. So that's bullshit.
What are they trying to achieve? Is it?
I don't think it's any of this. I think part of Gen Z men are lonely, and they're angry at the world, and you're just a radical person, a crazy loon that the world hates right now, and they think, well, if the world hates this guy and we hate the world, maybe we should support this guy because they hate him, so he must be saying something right. And they just want to be part of a movement, part of a cause. They want to feel like revolutionaries. They want to feel like rebels. They want to feel like they're part of a group that understands some things that other people don't. It's more that.
Is it about fame, money, something like that? If they look at a guy that's really willing to just say anything and everything, or maybe spitefully saying things to piss people off, they say, well, clearly this guy isn't in it for the money or the fame or to climb a political career or any career ladder for that matter. This is somebody that people can relate to. So I think I'm a very relatable person.
I saw last night that you said you
All right, I think that's good enough for now. We already are close to 2 hours. Anyways, guys, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe to this channel and like it so that more people see it. Also, let me know in the comment section after the show, more Nick Fuentes, less Nick Fuentes, more Mamdani, less Mamdani, less or more, or other people that you want me to cover. Let me know in the comment section, who do you want me to cover more? And what news, which areas, Israel, Iran, United States, Ukraine, or certain people, certain politicians, certain debates. I'll check the comments, okay? To see what you guys think. All right, I think we did a very effective job in responding to this guy's bullshit. Like, this guy, I mean, he doesn't have anything.
People climb up.
It's so easy to respond to him. Like, he doesn't really, he just has claims with nothing to really back it up. There is no actual logic here. There's actually no arguments there. He just repeats claims without any evidence or any reasoning behind what is true. He makes a whole bunch of fallacies. This is really easy. It's interesting that he has, the fact that he has so many fans shows that it doesn't, you don't need to really make sense. You just have to say what people want to hear. And that's how you get a lot of fans and followers, by just saying what people really want to hear, not by actually making sense. Anyways, I'm going to head out. I'm going to go get ready for our webinar in our discussion group. So see you guys there. And thank you for being here. Again, say it with me in the chat. I'm Israel Chai, Javicha. See you same time tomorrow.